Greetings, fellow Americans. Welcome to Fireside Chats, State of Our Nation. I'm Susanna for President, 2028. Let's start off talking about our agriculture sector. The Agriculture Sector Assistance Act is going to benefit our nation, and it is part of our National Recovery Plan. One of the ways that we're going to lower prices on food products. This is something that a lot of people have been very angry about here recently, and I think we understand why. So one of the ways that we are going to do this is making sure that our agriculture sector has what it needs financially and in manpower to make sure that we have the fruits and crops that we plant in abundance, instead of having to worry about so many different aspects that could go wrong. We need to really make sure that our agriculture sector has these things. This means making sure that farms, including small farms, not just major farms, not just small farms, all farms, have necessary help, have necessary funding. We've seen very recently raids by ICE, Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement. Some of these raids have taken place on farms. The Agriculture Sector Assistance Act benefits farms because it allocates funding to farms specifically to ensure that immigrants on the fast track to citizenship through the Immigration Reform Act in my National Recovery Plan have access to those jobs before any illegal immigrant. And it benefits Americans because it prioritizes Americans for those positions before anyone on the fast track. There are definitely many young folk who will benefit from the Agriculture Sector Assistance Act because it will allow them to travel from farm to farm and have their transportation paid for, to let them experience different aspects of our agriculture sector. It allows them to gain work skills and preps them for other fields while earning an income. And this is one of the many employment opportunities offered through the Agriculture Sector Assistance Act. We're going to shorten that. The Ag Act, Ag Sector Act. It also benefits our climate. There are many areas in our cities that do not have adequate shade from trees, especially, and different types of buildings and stuff like that. We need to help reduce the heat from our big cities. Making sure that we have adequate trees to support our cities, to provide that shade, is actually very necessary for our nation. And we have many different areas in our nation, different cities, different areas that really could benefit from these, especially in California, where it's really hot and there's been a lot of development. There's a lot of concrete. A lot of people like to call cities concrete jungles. That's not inaccurate. It helps us. This particular act implements farms specifically for growing trees for this. I'm scrolling. It also creates jobs to manage and take care of those trees, because you can't just, you can't just say, we're going to go plant these trees and not clean up the mess. They do shed every year, and we do shed. They lose their leaves every year. So making sure that we clean up after the trees that we plant guarantees jobs, and it also keeps our environment healthy. It helps us maintain shaded areas and cool spots for people, especially during hot days. And this goes even for northern cities where usually you don't see that type of heat, triple digits even, but it does happen, and it has happened. So different stuff like that is important. And it's not just tree farms. There are other types of agricultural uh, crops that we will be getting into to help our economy and to support our agriculture sector. So um, this is also going to be important. Uh, the Agriculture Sector Assistance Act, anyway, because it implements a program to gather food from places where it might be spoiling. It's a rescue food program. This is going to help us reduce a lot of our food waste, and it's also going to help us feed more people, transform these products that might go to waste if we don't do something with them into meals, healthy meals for people who need them, especially. It's also one of the ways we're going to combat human smuggling and illegal immigration. That this act, it provides a financial bonus for farm worker or for farm owners. I'm sorry, that only maintain legal workers, legal immigrants on the fast track, or if they chose not to take that through whatever legal other paths, as long as they are here and the farmers maintain that legal status, they'll get a bonus per worker. It's kind of a way of the people saying, good job on keeping it legal. We need that. We need more people to do that, to stay legal, to follow the appropriate paths. There's also a penalty for those who continue to violate those laws and harbor illegal immigrants on their farm. And repeat offenders could lose their farms. And I would really hate to see that happen, because then there's no guarantee that something else could happen to that place. So it's important to stay within the legal pathways. Under this particular act, I do expect farmers to think about these things and the penalties and the financial gain that they would have for maintaining legal immigrants, legal workers. So just a few things to think about there. Another aspect of the National Recovery Act is the Infrastructure Repair Act. There's a lot that goes into our infrastructure, so we won't be able to cover everything today, but it's really important that we have the people to maintain and repair our infrastructure. So part of the Infrastructure Repair Act partners with the Economic Stability Act to ensure that across our nation we have employment spaces for to maintain and repair our infrastructure. So basically we have the jobs, the personnel. We have a set amount that we know we need for individual areas, individual cities, and we do our best to maintain that because it is essential. This is one of the ways that we keep our nation growing. And this means everything from our railroads, our city roads, to housing and power, and everything in between, really. In order for a nation to grow and thrive, we have to maintain our infrastructure. And there's just no getting around it. We have to maintain that. We have to maintain the funding for it. We have to maintain it. Infrastructure also includes transportation services like trucking companies and rail freight. So the Infrastructure Repair Act offers to partner with trucking and rail companies to maintain and repair railways, excuse me, as well as other vehicles that are used for transportation that is necessary across our nation. There would be some restrictions like limiting the application of this act to shelf to unstable shelf items like fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff, but that can also be amended. So it guarantees that regardless of what happens, what is happening in our nation, no piece of legislation, no president, no court can stay or can halt the transportation of food services to necessary areas, food banks, disaster areas, grocery stores, supermarkets, the like. Anywhere that you can buy fresh fruits and vegetables, this act prevents the government from halting those shipments. We saw this happen with some shipments down to a food bank, down to the food banks in the South. Not a lot of people were very happy about that, and feeding people for a week is really essential for our nation, and it's really important for the people to maintain a healthy lifestyle, be able to have healthy food to eat. It also guarantees that regardless, sorry. Okay, so this is actually where the National Transportation Maintenance and Repair Act comes in. Starting to read. So NTMR, the National Transportation Maintenance and Repair Act, establishes a set of jobs for the maintenance and repair of our infrastructure, transportation aspect of our infrastructure. This is partnering with companies who provide mass transportation like the FFA and ground services like Greyhound, Amtrak, all of those that we use for our public transportation to keep us moving. It partners with them to keep us moving. A couple of ways this happens is having our workers, well, we could call them government workers because they are working for us, the people, and being paid by us, the people. Partnering with those companies to make sure that our people are trained and are able to adequately repair and have that knowledge to maintain the infrastructure. Because obviously you can't just throw somebody in there after, even after just a few days. They do need good training. We need to provide it. Partnering with companies like that is going to provide not just the training needed for people to be able to maintain our infrastructure, but it's also going to benefit the companies that partner with us. It will give them an extra bonus for providing that service. You could also call it a payment for services, but it just depends on the wording in any contract. But essentially they get a little bit of a payment from us for providing that service, for providing the training to maintain the vehicles that they create, that they build, and that are used for mass transportation. Infrastructure also includes housing. So along with this is the National Housing Construction Project. This is also part of our Poverty Reduction Act. So there's kind of partnering here of acts. In every state and every city where there is a homeless population, uh, it will benefit the city. It'll benefit the people. And there's going to be different types of housing built for the communities. Obviously, these things will depend on what exactly is going on with the community. There's a whole bunch of aspects to consider. However, some of the housing that will be built is efficiency housing, low income apartment complexes, veteran housing, housing for families, housing for singles, and the like. It also provides space for those in transition for a temporary residence to keep them off the street. This works especially with limited and low income uh, disability or retirement individuals, those who receive those benefits, and veterans even. It's based off of your income. So we're going to get into that now. Based off of your income. Instead of using gross wages, which is a very inaccurate calculation, um, a person's in a person's rental, person's rent, I'm sorry, should be uh, calculated by net income. The government always gets their cut first, right? So you can't logically use a gross income to calculate how much a person should pay in rent. Now, this type of housing, the low income housing, would definitely be based off of your income, and you would not be able to make more than $45,000 a year. Those who make under that pay a percentage of their income instead of a flat rate, and it's on a sliding scale. So an individual in a studio who makes around $30,000 a year would pay a percentage of their income and net income, and then a family who's there who makes $25,000 a year is going to pay a percentage of their income, and it'll be different depending on how much they make. That is what it means to have income-based housing. That's real income-based housing. Housing is essential to maintain good health, and I'm pretty sure that most of us can recognize that. So with that, let's talk about our national healthcare system. The national healthcare system obviously is an opt-in on your W-2. It's just like the national education system as far as that goes. It covers the costs of necessary healthcare. If you need to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. We should not have to worry about how much it's going to cost us to go to the doctor, or refrain from going to the doctor because it's going to cost us. It shouldn't work that way. We need to maintain our health, and doctors should be treated as team members in maintaining our health, our individual health. Unfortunately, the way that our system is run right now, our doctors don't really get to do that, especially public doctors, like through our local CMAR and state-run agencies, state or government-run agencies. Not all of us need to go to the doctor on a regular basis. We may go for a checkup once a year. We might go when we're sick, but most of us are not sick all the time. So it is beneficial for us to be able to just go whenever we need it. Most of us are quite content to stay away from the doctor if we don't have to go. But having the security of knowing that you can go to the doctor at any time you get sick, takes a lot of stress off of people, as well as financially benefiting your wallet, considering you wouldn't have to pay anything out of pocket for the visit or a prescription even. One of the things that is covered by the national healthcare system is natural medicine, and here's why. Natural medicine can help you boost our immune system, which gives us a stronger defense against that which would attack our bodies. Viruses, bacteria, or something else. Another note is that natural medicine can complement pharmaceutical medicine. Not necessarily that you want to take it at the same time, but keeping ourselves healthy to begin with and using natural remedies as we can really helps boost our immune system, so that when we have to take pharmaceuticals, we have that extra bounce, that extra oomph to get rid of whatever it is that happens to be making us sick or ill, or whatever you want to call it. Being healthy doesn't mean you have to stop taking pharmaceuticals, though. Medicine can be very essential, can be very beneficial in helping us get through illness, regardless of what that is, or other ailments. It just means that you do what you can for yourself to maintain good health. That isn't to say that it's a cure-all, but it does complement our livelihoods. The national healthcare system allows people to choose their own doctors, with the exception of private doctors, unless they are willing to care for patients that are within or that are part of the national healthcare system, or that have opted into the national healthcare system. There are a lot of different ways that the national healthcare system is going to work, including people who are including for people who are unemployed and who are facing struggles with addiction and homelessness. A couple of things that it does for our physicians and our medical staff is implementing and utilizing temporary staffing agencies or apps that can fill gaps in employment when in hospitals, in home care services, and the like. And this is for nurses, RNs, CNAs, and travel out of the city could be, compensated if it was necessary, especially if it was in an emergency situation. Excuse me just a second. It ensures that our physicians and our medical staff are compensated appropriately, that every hospital and ambulance and pharmacy and clinic has what they need to care for their patients. The provisions for transportation, there are provisions for transportation in partnership with local transportation companies like taxis and medical transportation that already exists. There's a healthcare system. This healthcare system, also ensures the integrity of the healthcare system. The national healthcare system ensures the integrity of our healthcare system by weeding out low performers. So doctors who are not helping their patients heal, and they're having too many complaints. And we've seen this actually a lot here in Washington, or I should say recently, where there have been some doctors who have lost their licenses because of some complaints, issues that they were having. So our physicians need to be able to give the care to the best of their ability, be real physicians. And this is part of their oath, their medical oath. But this act also limits doctors and nurses' patient ratio to a reasonable level so that medical staff can thoroughly care for their patients and not be overwhelmed. And that's something I know that a lot of nurses and medical staff have had an issue with. But that's what these things are for. That's what the national healthcare system is for, is to help alleviate that. It also helps bring back people into the field, or encourages people to come back into the field with wages, good compensation, and the ability to choose when you have days off. Different stuff like that. That is all I have for today. Thank you for your time, and may our path lead to peace and prosperity.